about control flow in SSIS. Okay. What do you mean by the control flow in SSIS? So as I have already explained, again I am recapping. So control flow in SSIS is used to implement the logical workflow with the help of precedence constraint and tasks. So the first thing, tasks means if you see here, let me open any package. So here, search toolbox, under this SIS toolbox, these all are the tasks actually. Okay. Then what do you mean by the precedence constraints? What does it mean? Precedence constraints are the logical connectors between the tasks, okay, which can be used to implement the logical workflows. We have totally 3 types of precedence constraints: green indication success, red indication failure, gray indication completion. Let me show you. Yeah, here if you see. Okay. Precedence constraints are nothing but these lines. This green indication success. What does it mean? For example, here I have 3 tasks: execute SQL task 1, data flow task 1. If execute SQL task went success, then only remaining 2 it will execute. Okay, here the same scenario. If here it is completion from 1 to 2, okay, that means if one is failed or succeeded, doesn't matter. The second task it will execute once the execution is completed by the one. అది fail avani success avani doesn't matter. బట్ ఇక్కడ 2 నుంచి 3 గాని మీరు గమనిస్తే రెండోది సక్సెస్ అయితేనే మూడోది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుద్ది. ఎందుకంటే గ్రీన్ కన్స్ట్రైంట్ పెట్టాం. మళ్ళీ 3 నుంచి 4 కూడా గ్రీన్ కన్స్ట్రైంట్ ఉంది. ఎందుకంటే మూడోది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయ్యి సక్సెస్ అనేది వస్తేనే, సక్సెస్ఫుల్ గా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయితేనే నాలుగోది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. So even you have a flexibility to write the expressions as well inside the precedence constraints with the help of and or with logical operators. Okay, so this is the completion. Completion means a parent task, success or failure doesn't matter. అది ఎగ్జిక్యూషన్ అయిపోగానే రెండో దానికి వస్తుంది. అది కంప్లీషన్ అంటే. మరి గ్రీన్ అంటే సో పేరెంట్ టాస్క్ మస్ట్ అండ్ షుడ్ గా సక్సెస్ఫుల్ గా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయితేనే దాని కింద టాస్క్ వస్తుంది. మరి రెడ్ కలర్ అంటే ఆ పర్టికులర్ యొక్క పేరెంట్ టాస్క్ అనేది ఫెయిల్ అయితేనే ఈ టాస్క్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. ఇలా ఈవెన్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఏ ఫ్లెక్సిబిలిటీ టు రైట్ ద ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్స్ యాజ్ వెల్. సో ఇక్కడ చూడండి, నేను ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ సీక్వెల్ టాస్క్ ని యూజ్ చేసుకొని ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ రాశాను ఈ డేటా ఫ్లోస్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవటానికి. అదేంటి అంటే నా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ సీక్వెల్ టాస్క్ ఏదో ఒక వాల్యూ రిటర్న్ చేస్తుంది. ఓకే, సో ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ రిటర్నింగ్ 1, then it's supposed to execute this data flow task. అందుకే నేను ఇక్కడ ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్ రాసుకున్నా. ఓకే, if this execute SQL task returns 2, then this data flow task will execute. Out of these 2 values, if it is returning something other value, they should not execute any value. They should not execute these 2. ఓకే, ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చెయ్యదు. ఒకటి కానీ 2 కానీ రావాలి. ఒకటొస్తే ఇది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుద్ది, రెండొస్తే ఇది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయ్యింది. అది కాకుండా 3, 4 వచ్చిందంటే ఏది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవ్వదు. ఇది ఒకటి ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయ్యి ఆగిపోద్ది. ఓకే, చూడండి ఒకసారి. ఇదిగోండి, మనం 3 రిటర్న్ చేస్తున్నాం, అందువల్ల ఏది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవ్వలేదు. ఓకే, ఓకే, For example, my query it was returning 1, for example. Then it's supposed to be execute this data flow task, right? Let's check it. చూడండి అది execute అయింది. Why? Because here we have given the expression. So here evaluation operations. If you keep the constraint, then this line it should come. When it comes to the expression, okay, that means you have a flexibility to write the expression, or else if you want to perform the both, or else if you want to perform out of to any, with the help of logical and logical or. Okay, these many logics we can apply, inside the precedence constraint. So because that is the one, they are the logical connectors between the tasks actually. Okay, green indication success, red indication failure, gray indication completion. So we have even more flexibility to write the expressions inside the precedence constraints with the help of parameters and variables. Okay, we can perform two types of logical conditions like and or. చూపించే కదా and or యాడ్ ఉంటాయి. మీరు గమనిస్తే ఇదిగోండి. Okay, this is everything about the control flow. Okay, we have a number of tasks, of course. So every task it is having the unique functionality. So like, for example, execute SQL task, which can be used to execute the, T-SQL queries. Not only T-SQL queries, SQL queries we can execute. Like that, analysis service processing task. What does it mean by analysis service processing task? Means, we have a one instance with SSAS. That means SQL Server Analysis Service. So by there, from the data warehouse, they will consume the data and they will, pivot the data, high-end aggregation. So by the time, if you want to refresh the objects such as cubes and dimensions inside the inside your SSAS instance, by the time analysis service processing task, it should be helpful. Bulk insert, of course, this bulk insert can be used to load the data from text file to SQL Server. Data profiling task, it's a kind of validation task to check the data quality. Okay, like execute package task. For example, if you want to run any SIS package in your SSIS package, for example, I would like to call this lookup transformation package in this current precedence constraint package. So I can use the execute package, like that execute process task. So this especially, when you are dealing with any third-party applications, such as any external applications. So by the time this execute process task in the real time, for zipping and unzipping, we can use this execute process task. Expression task to evaluate the values in your variables or parameters, like that file system task, like when you are dealing with the file system. Dealing with the file system means, for example, you have a files on the drive. So you are trying to load the data from that file. Once the data load is completed, you're supposed to archive the file. So in such a cases, we can use the file system like FTP task. FTP means file transfer protocol. It's a different server, which is the one to share the file more securely in an encryption manner. Okay, so FTP, SFTP, okay, HSFTP. There are different protocols is there. So when you are dealing with the FTP server to get the files from your client, so by the time we can use the FTP. Like here also we have Hadoop related tasks, Hadoop file system tasks, Hadoop IO tasks, Hadoop Fig tasks. Okay, they all are when you are dealing with the Hadoop system, Hadoop environment. Suppose, for example, if you want to load the data from HDFS location, whereas HDFS means Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, which was there in the clusters. So by the time, we can use these Hive task, it's a kind of SQL. Hadoop Fig task, it's a kind of SQL. Script task, of course, SSIS, we have a more flexibility to implement the customized tasks. Okay, even if you know the C# or VB.NET, okay, you can, these two languages, it will support the script task. Okay, if you know any one of the language, then more flexible to work with. I mean, you have a more flexibility to write any custom code as well. Okay, custom code ante మీ own గా సెండ్ ఈమెయిల్ అంటే మెయిల్ సెండ్ చేయడానికి, వెబ్ సర్వీస్ టాస్క్ అంటే హెచ్టిటిపి సైట్స్ నుంచి ఏదైనా డేటా తీసుకోవడానికి, XML టాస్క్. దీస్ త్రీ ఆర్ ద కంటైనర్స్. ఓకే, సో ఈ 3 కంటైనర్స్ లో మోస్ట్లీ మనం చేసేది ఈ 2, ఫర్ ఈచ్ లూప్, సీక్వెన్స్. ఫర్ లూప్ ఎక్కడో వెరీ రేర్ కేసులో యూజ్ చేస్తాం, మొత్తం చూపిస్తాను. ఓకే, అండ్ వెన్ ఇట్ కమ్స్ టు ద అదర్ టాస్క్స్, ఆఫ్ కోర్స్ దే ఆర్, ఈ అదర్ టాస్క్స్ లో ఉన్నాయి మొత్తం, సమ్ ఆఫ్ దెమ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ రిలేటెడ్ టు administrative work, which are related to server maintenance, server taking the backup of the databases. Okay, agent transfer to the another SQL server, or objects passing to the another SQL server, such kind of administrative work. So mostly we should not use them in the real time. Why? Because as a developer, you should not get these all kinds of access. Okay, so this is all about the control flow. Okay, in the further sessions we can continue to start with by every task. Okay.